Instead of showing us her substance and character, the DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, well, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors. And don't you want a president who's going to protect America's freedoms? And who is going to protect us against totalitarianism? And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease? And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
RFK joins forces with Donald Trump, guys. He is endorsing Trump. Now, this is going to put Kamala under heavy, heavy water. I'm Buzz Brown Conservative. Let's go.
Instead of showing us her substance and character, the DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, well, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors and balloons in a highly produced Chicago circus. There in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers mentioned Donald Trump 147 times just on the first day. Oh, who needs a policy when you have Trump to hate? In contrast, at the RNC convention, President Biden was mentioned only twice in 4 days. I do interviews every day. Many of you have interviewed me. Anybody who asks gets to interview me. Some days I do as many as 10. President Trump, who actually was nominated and won an election, also does interviews daily. How did the Democratic Party choose a candidate that has never done an interview or debate during the entire election cycle? We know the answers. They did it by weaponizing the government agencies. They did it by abandoning democracy. They did it by suing the opposition and by disenfranchising American voters.
Wow, I've earned so much respect for RFK after this and what he's done and what he's been doing. Honestly, he's been making the rounds when it comes to interviews. He sat down with Joe Rogan. He sits down with everyone. You want to do an interview? I got you. You want to do an interview? I got you. Interview after interview after interview, press conference, etc. But Kamala, 35 days, no interview, no media talk, silence, hiding, scared. But now Donald will do the same thing. He go out and talk to anyone. You want to talk to me? We can talk. We'll talk about whatever. He goes to rally after rally after rally. Where's Kamala's rally? After she don't do it. It's all manufactured bull. Now let's take a look at RFK when he goes on stage with Donald.
So, Bobby, please say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you. Now, a few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. And these institutions, these regulatory agencies are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies. that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years and on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president. And we talked. We had a very good talk. And then he invited me to come see him the next day. And I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida. And we talked not about the things that separate us, because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic. Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted. He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. He said he didn't want any more $200 billion wars in Ukraine, that we could use that money back here in the United States. And the best way to build a safe America is to rebuild our industrial base and rebuild the middle class in this country. And don't you want a president who's going to get us out of the wars and who's going to rebuild the middle class in this country? And he told me that he wanted to end the censorship, because the whole basis of American democracy is the free flow of information. And we know that a government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. And can you think of any time that you can look back in history and say that the people who were censoring were the good guys? They're always the bad guys, because it's always the first step down that slippery slope to totalitarianism. And don't you want a president who's going to protect America's freedoms? And who is going to protect us against totalitarianism? And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease? And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? Thank you all very, very much, and God bless you, and God bless America.
Respect for RFK just went through the roof, boom. After what he just did in endorsing Donald J. Trump, you know Kamala has zero chance in November. The debate come up in September. She ain't gonna be able to do it. She can't do it. What's she gonna do? What's she gonna say? What she got? She got nothing for Donald. Nothing. She hasn't introduced any policy other than the tax your tips bull crap, which she was a deciding factor voting that a couple of years ago to tax that stuff. What's she gonna say? I'm good on the border. She wasn't good on the border. What about foreign wars? She wasn't good on foreign wars. Millions of dollars going on, billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, inflation through the roof. She got nothing, folks. And now with RFK backing Donald J. Trump, she's got zero chances. We'll see what happens in November. We'll see. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'm Buzz Brown Conservative. Peace.